Hello everyone, Cherie Wayman here from Fanklemade. I was recently asked to make a video tutorial on how to create stickers and labels in Silhouette Studio. They are essentially the same process. Part 1 will be creating the sticker from an existing image using the offset and trace tools. Part 2, setting up the mat, page, machine and registration marks. And Part 3, printing and cutting stickers. So let's get started. You can open various image formats in Silhouette Studio. The most common ones I use are obviously the Silhouette Studio format, Jpeg, PNG. I've put a selection of these files on the screen at the moment and we'll work through them during the tutorial. Let's start with Silhouette Studio. I'll just remove the other items off the screen. Bring that one back. So the two Silhouette Studio files are the Dragonfly and the Toadstool. As you know, Silhouette allows you to create images that are merely print or cut or sketch or etch. And because we're wanting these particular images to have a border around them ultimately to make them look like stickers, we only want the images to be in a print form. It's always best to check to see whether you have any cut lines around them, and to do that you need to go up to the right hand side and select the send option here. This brings up a screen that shows you a preview of your cutting mat and the files, and also on the other side there is a working area where you can change the blade depth, the cutting lines on the images and the materials that you are using on your silhouette at the time. On the preview page, anything that shows a red line around it indicates a cutting line. We need to deactivate those cutting lines for this purpose. They'll stay with the image, but they're deactivated, so they will just merely cut. So we just want to select both of those, go over to the right hand side and select no cut. We can go back into the design now, knowing safely that they're only going to print, and now we want to create a border around them. Silhouette files can generally be have a border created around them by using the offset panel. You can find that up on the top menu here and also over to the right hand side here. When you click on the image that you want selected and then select either offset or internal offset, you will have a border either externally around the outline or internally within. The internal offset will obviously bring it within, and you can change that by sliding this little slider here over, and it would change to a smaller or a wider line, or you can also adjust it by using the little arrows up and down here. We don't really want an internal one, so I'm just going to cancel that. Select the Dragonfly again and select offset. It's defaulted on this occasion to a 0.2 centimeters, and I'm quite happy with that border. So I'm going to use that also for the toadstool. The next thing we want to do is change the color of the layers that we have just created. And what I want is to change the color to white. Now, you may not think it's white at the moment, it's actually transparent. So I'm going over to the right hand side to the fill panel and select white. Bring them back, and I'm going to select that and go up here and use the center button to align them. Okay. just to prove a point, I'll create a rectangle from the drawing tools here, give it some colour and send it to the back. And you can see now that we have a white border. And to pull that off for the moment, we want to see if the border is a cutting file, and I don't think it will be, but we can check by, yes, going over to the send button, and as we can see, there's no red line around them, so we need to select that border. Have I selected it? Yes. And click on the cut, and the same with the dragonfly. I just want to check that I've got the right one. Yes. Now I selected the cut option here. There is a cut edge. If you've got a really busy image and there's lots of different elements in it, very much like this toadstool, had I selected the whole image, it would have been better to select cut edge, and that will just give the outline again rather than everything else inside. Back to the design page. Now I can group it together. I'll pan out a little bit, move these off the page and select another couple of files that I want to talk about. These are what we call PNGs. They're like photographs where they've had the background removed. If I tried to do an offset with these particular ones, you'll probably find that there is an outline that is not visible to you, but when you try and offset it, it will show. So let's try this one with the circle around it for the moment. Yes. Now this is really the size of the picture, and this outline, it might work for you. This might be the way you want a sticker to look, but for me that's not what I want, so I'm going to delete that. The only way we're going to achieve an outline that's got a circle in it is to either use a trace panel, or because it's a circle and it's a simple shape, we could go over to the drawing tools, select the ellipse, hit the cursor to the image, hold the shift button down on your keyboard and drag a circle round. That will do the job just as well. And it's a lot easier than the trace panel for this particular shape. However, this one is a heart shape, and in fact if you look closely it's also got a shadow around it. So unless you've got a heart shape that you can bring in the same way as we've done this circle, it's not going to work. So let's try the trace panel for this one. That's over on the right hand side and it looks like a piece of toast. Select the area, drag the selected area for tracing, and then over on this panel here it's giving us lots of different functions to try out to get a better trace image. I tend to go to the threshold as a starting point and just drag that over to the right. Now that looks good, but if we look down here, the heart has got a little nick in it. That's because the shadow is also being traced. So if I wanted a pure heart outline, I'd need to carry on with the threshold a bit more. I think we're there now. At this point, you've got these options down the bottom: trace, trace outer, and trace and detach. If I clicked on trace, every line here would be traced. What I want is just the outer, so that's what I'm going to select. And now you can see a heart. I think we need to increase the heart slightly in size because with the shadow as well, you're not really getting much of a border. And this line should be an automatic cut, as should this one. They're different colours, but that's because we used the drawing tool and I had a line colour probably already set up in my options. What I can do is, while I still have that one selected, go over to the line style panel. Yes, I've got a 1 point on that, so I'm going to reduce that down to 0 and also convert it back to a red line so they look similar. If we go to the send button now, both of these have red lines around them and so they are good to go. Now I need to change the colours of the borders, and because of the shadow here I'm moving this out the way for a moment, selecting this actual image, going to the fill panel and selecting white. And you can see that this one is sitting in front of this, so I need to right hand click and centre the back so this heart will show on top. So let's centre that, and trying to centre, because of the shadow, it's shunted over to one side, so it's probably better to manually do it by eye, and that will do. Select all of that, right hand click and group. Let's try this one. Move this one out the way again. Click on this, change it to white, and again you can now see that it's sitting in front. Right hand click, centre back, and bring this one in over the top. Select them. Let's see if that centres nicely. No, it's just slightly out, so let's put it there. Right hand click and group. I'll pan out and move these over here. Next we want to try this one. This is a Jpeg. This is a copy of a photograph, and the white border here is the excess of the photograph that's been copied over too. So what I want to achieve really is an outline, a shaped outline around the logo and the words. I can reasonably easily get the rectangle, and again we want to get rid of this white area. The first thing we need to do is to go to the trace panel. So it's back over to the right hand side, click on the trace panel and the select trace area, and select around the grey and white image. Back to the threshold and draw it across until I've got a good cut. That will do, and I'm going to say trace on this one. If I clicked on trace outer edge, all I would get is a rectangle. If I pull the JPEG away, you can see now that I've got a cutting file that could be used in Silhouette, but I want rid of the rectangle to start with, and it's probably either grouped or a compound path. So if I right hand click, it's obviously a compound path, so I'm going to release that, and in doing so it's made every element of this logo an individual image. Let's get rid of the rectangle because I don't want that. Now I've got this file that I need to create an outline for, and what I can do for that is first of all make it compound path again, so it's all one file and moves as one. Use the offset option this time, back to the offset. Now this is looking really busy because you've got the outline around the flourish here and around the letters, but you can see that I've got these little elements here that I don't want. So I want to increase the offset so the letters join in with this outline for the flourish. And so I'm going to use the arrow up key to increase the size until I feel that we've got enough there. That's probably a little bit too much. I'm just taking it down a little bit. So I want it reasonably close. I think that should be it. And apply. Now I can drag the outline away from the image, and you can see there are elements inside it that I don't really want. Again, this is probably grouped or compound path, so let's right hand click, and I need to release the compound path. Drag the outer image away and then select all the excess bits and pieces and just delete them. So if I needed this for anything, I could keep it, but I don't on this occasion, so I'm going to delete it. Bring the JPEG back in. Put this around the image within the grey area. And in all intents and purposes, I could use that on the mat to cut out this image, but it's a bit wasteful because I have all this area that is taking up a lot of space on the mat that's not necessary. So I'm going to do one further step to attempt to cut this image out and remove all the excess. So I need to select, I'm going to need to go out a bit. Need to select everything here, and what we need to go to next is the modify panel, and we have an option here to crop. Click on that and it's cropped. Just want to check to see in the send field whether that's a cutting file, and it's not at the moment. So let's click on cut, and now we have an outline. Don't worry that it's black. Again, it's to do with the fact that I've got the line set up, and again you can see there's a 1 point on the line. Helps if I do that and change to 0. We now have that cutting line. Okay, so we're nearly there. One more to go. This image is a sketch I made and then saved it as a PNG file, and we've talked about that earlier. The little hearts were PNG. If I bring this back over, you can see that this is transparent. We could try to do an offset with it, so let's click on that. And as it did before, it's giving me the outline of the image itself, not the shape around the people in the sketch. So let's delete that. We could try the trace on it as well. So let's go over to the trace and select that. Use the threshold to increase it until we have all the lines showing, and then select trace. Drag it away. Now on this you can see that we have double lines for all the sketch marks on the page. That's not really going to work for us because there is no continual line all the way round. Even if I went back to the offset and clicked on that, you can still see that this is the end result, which doesn't work. So let's delete that. And for this particular occasion, I think we need to delete this too. I have another option to try, and that's on the left hand side, and that's the freehand tools. Click on the middle one, and for this you've got to have a steady hand if you want it to look good. I'm not going to worry too much today. I'm just going to try and draw around it. So when you start drawing, keep your finger on your mouse, do not release it. You need it depressed all the way around. So let's start. I'm holding my breath now, because if you let go, you won't have a complete line all the way around and it will not join properly. Thankfully that one did, and you can see now that we have the select box all the way around, which confirms. Okay, so I can pull that away and it is one whole piece. There are no joins in it. Let's give it a little bit of colour just to make some sense of it. I'm going to make it a little bit more transparent so it's not too bright, and bring that over, and now we can see the image there, but I think this is actually on top, so I'm going to send it to the back. Yes, it was. Check in the send field, and yes, we have a line around it, so that's good to go too. So now we have completed our stickers. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you would like to see my future videos, don't forget to click the subscribe button. In the meantime, you can find part 2 of this tutorial on my Fanklemade design channel. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.